Hello and welcome to the webcast. I'm Kevin Faraca, Software Application Specialist with the PPI Group. Today's topic, Autodesk AutoCAD 2016, what's new? One of the new enhancements to the visual effects in AutoCAD, if you'll notice in 2014 we had very corded information and sawtooth effects that would happen on any rounded or elliptical object. In 2015 they added smooth line effects where we could smooth out those lines, but we still did get some cording effect. We didn't get as much sawtooth, but it did smooth the lines out and make them sharper. In 2016 we have nice crisp lines inside. You do have to have a compatible video card, a video card that is compatible with DirectX 11, but if you do, you can turn that on and off through the properties of the graphics driver. AutoCAD has greatly improved the functionality of their internal PDF capabilities. We can now export PDFs with a lot of settings. We will go through that as we go along. We can also import Navisworks NWC and NWD files as coordination models, or if you are using BIM Glue 360 or BIM 360 Glue, you can bring in the BIM 360 Glue model into your AutoCAD drawing to do clash detection, workflow analysis and stuff on the coordination model. Another thing we'll be looking at is the enhancements to the point clouds. Point clouds are now treated more like AutoCAD objects. We can extract edges and corners, snap to they've given us some three-dimensional O-snaps dealing specifically with raster or with point cloud objects. We also have some other new effects that may interest you. We'll see that as we go along. Another feature that has been added is smart dimensioning. We can automatically create the appropriate dimensions based on the geometry you pick. It will preview that geometry before you accept the dimension, and we will see some of that. So these are the features that we are going to cover, showing you the visual effects, how to bring in a coordination model, what you can do with it when it's in, the smart dimensioning. There's a brand new sysvar monitor that we can use. I think will be a great enhancement, as you'll see as we go along. That'll keep some of the irritation down when working with AutoCAD drawings and external Lisp routines and external commands. We'll also see the enhancements to the PDF, the revision clouds, so we can they've modified the revision cloud information, and also dealing with point clouds. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a drawing. And one of the things you'll notice when we first start out is they've renamed the new tab to the Start tab. So as we're looking here, this used to, in 15, they brought these the new tabs in so that all of our drawings that open up, we get a tab for. This starting tab allows us to start without a blank drawing, just in the Start tab. It gives us the ability to click on to start a brand new drawing, to open files, to open a sheet set, to look for templates. Also, we have all of our recent documents in here in the list. In the recent document list, we can use the push pin and lock the push pin into place. That'll keep the drawing in our list so that you can get back to it at any time. When you're done, you turn the push pin off. There's different visual states to the recent documents, so we can go with the large thumbnail, the medium thumbnail, or just the list. We also have the ability to, or it notifies us of any notifications as far as updates that are available. You can see here that I have an update that I have not processed yet. And also the the AutoCAD 360. So we'll log in for our AutoCAD 360 account. If you look down here on the bottom and you're hooked to the internet, you'll get this Learn tab. On the Learn tab, you can go there and it has demonstrations on what's new inside AutoCAD. And also getting started videos for if you're a new user to come in and preview some of these tutorials for getting started. Pardon me. So looking at layout tabs, some of the interface changes that they've made. If I add a number of layout tabs on here, so I'm just going to keep adding, now I have 11 layout tabs, but I can only see 6 of those. If I grab any of these layout tabs I can move, you can see that I can now drag and drop these layout tabs into any spot that I want to. And if I keep dragging, it will keep adding or going down the line. So I can drop this layout tab wherever I'd like to, and then I can pick that up and I can drag it back. And I'll keep going back into place. If I right click on any of these tabs, I can dock that above the status bar, so now it shows the tabs above. If I want that extra amount of space, I can go dock in line with the status bar. I also have another way of accessing those tabs by pulling on this chevron here and picking my layouts from the list. Another interface change they've made. Let me open up a file here. So in 2014, they added, or 15, I believe, they added the gallery styles. So as you come down here, when you get into something like the dimensions, they added these galleries, which gives us a preview of what those objects are. So the multi-line styles, the table styles, they added these previews. We can now turn those on and off if we don't particularly want those through the command gallery view. So if you turn gallery view back to 0, then I can grab these and look at the pull downs, and now I just have the list like I used to. So, but if you want those back, again, gallery view. And set that to 1, and now we have the gallery views back. In 2016, we have great enhancements to our revision clouds. So if I come into the revision cloud, pull this down, go to rectangle, I can now do rectangular revision clouds. I can also pull this down, go into polygonal clouds, and I can drag an area or an irregular shape, and I enter or end that, and I get the irregular shaped revision cloud. I can also just go into the revision cloud or hit enter to go back into Rev Cloud. I can set the arc length. I can pick object and convert an object over to a revision cloud. Let's go back in one more time. Try that with an ellipse. Go to the object, pick this ellipse over here. So I have those revision clouds. These revision clouds now are based on the objects that they were made with. So if I've got a rectangular revision cloud, I'll have grips that react the same way as a rectangle would. And I can add vertexes in, I can stretch, I can do anything that I would with a regular polyline. Same with this one, because on the polygonal shape it has the same type of grips as a polyline would. In the case of this one that I converted over from a circle, I will get my quadrant grips and my center grip to be able to move it, and I have the same grips that I normally would on an ellipse. You also have the ability, if I go back in here to Rev Cloud, to go into Modify, pick a revision cloud, start drawing new pieces, And we try that one more time. Go into Revit Cloud, modify, pick my piece, start drawing the new pieces. Then when I get to the end, I can remove the piece that I don't want. And I get rid of that, or have modified my cloud now. You shut some of these down. So going back here, taking a look at dimensioning. We now have some smart dimensioning. So if I go in here under dimensions, you can see my smart dimensioning button. If I highlight over any of these objects, you can see that it automatically gives me a preview of what the dimension would look like. So I can pick that object, pop this up here, pick this object, pop it up here. I can also just click on an existing dimension and it'll go into the continuous mode. Pick up my O-snaps, snap back to here. Other things that I can do with this dimension, if I go back into the automatic dimensioning, I can come down here to my command line and I can do align. So if I want all of these to line up, I can just pick this object and this object. Everything will align to the first object I picked. If I come down to a non-horizontal or vertical object and I do my dimensioning, you can see that it'll automatically go into lined. Or I can go in, force it to an angular dimension, pick this line and the line down here, and force that into an aligned dimension. Oh, I'm sorry, an angular dimension. So increased functionality with these. You still have the ability to use the grips and go into continuous dimension. Or if I wanted to, baseline dimension. So I can go in here, baseline dimension. Sorry, grab the wrong grip. In here, baseline dimension. Pick this over to here. And now I can get an overall baseline dimension above my original. Get rid of that. Another nice new feature they've given us is if I draw a line here, I can snap to the geometric center of an object. So I snap to the geometric center, it gives me a different view. I can move this, take this, hit shift, right click, geometric center, pick the geometric center of any polygon. Let me get rid of this. I can use that if I'm drawing, so I can use that from the circle command. Hit geometric center, pick this object, locks me into geometric center, then I could go in and using my smart lines I can go in and snap that and create that center circle. It also will find the geometric center of an irregular shape. So if I go in and I draw a polygon, close this polygon and I say line, I can snap that to the geometric center of that object. Another graphical enhancement is if I take and I go to copy these objects. So I'm going to do the copy command, select these objects, pick a base point, and as long as I let this regenerate one time, now I can move this around without that flashing or doing that weird flashing and generate any time that I move, especially with a large amount of objects like we have here. So once it's regenerated the first time, it stays nice and stable. I can click it and drop it wherever I'd like. One of the things you'll notice is that when I highlighted this, I had a different color than we were used to seeing. You have the ability to change that on the fly. Under options, under selection, you can go in and change your selection color effect. So if I go in and say I'd like to have these green instead of yellow, then I can go in and I can select those objects and now they're green. So you can put it to whatever color you'd like. I'm going to go in and open up my properties dialog box, select some objects, go down to my properties. Let's try that one more time. Select my objects, grabbing too much stuff, it's not selecting inside my dialog box. Let's make a little bit smaller selection here. If I go in here, I can change the color by just going to the color, moving over to the top, and you can see the different objects will take on or give me a preview of the properties. It will happen with line type, line weight, etc. The next thing we have is a properties preview, or I'm sorry, is different command previews. They've added some additional command previews from the previous version. They started doing these command previews, if you worked with the previous version, with the offset routine and other routines like that. What will happen now is if I go in, I select a couple of objects, or I go into the erase command, I can select some objects. Those objects go gray, so you can preview what they're going to look like before you get rid of them. If I do this with, say, the blend command, I can go in, pick my objects, and it will give me a preview of what that's going to look like before I actually apply it. So I blend those together. I can come in and blend these together, and I've blended those objects. Other routines that you can do are that have the preview, and I probably am not showing the full extent of them, but there's lots of them in here. If I do, say, the stretch command, I can come in here, grab those objects, stretch this off, and you can see it stretch, but it also leaves the residual original object. So I can stretch this, pull it out, and then the original residual disappears. So I can see what happens in relation to the original object. If I pick these objects, go to rotate, pick the center point here, I can rotate around the center point, and I've selected that. So you can see it has the rotated effect. So there's lots of previews to any of the movements that you're doing now inside the AutoCAD. Get rid of my properties dialog box here, close this drawing out. We'll pick a different command. So PDF enhancements. Let's go open up a PDF file in here. One of the things that you'll notice is I have my layering ability, so I can turn on and off the layers. So I can embed the layers inside the PDF. I can make attachments to the PDF, and then I can also look at the thumbnails of the PDF. In this case, I have 11 different sheets inside here, and I can rotate through based on the thumbnails. But I also have the ability, there's some new functionality with the PDF. So notice if I highlight over the PDF that it has embedded the AutoCAD link, or the hyperlink. So on any of these, if it has a hyperlink to it, I can click on it, it would automatically launch that page. If I zoom up here, and these AutoCAD pages have bookmarks linked to them, I can click on the bookmark and it'll take me to that particular page. I can scroll down through. If I have things, let me zoom up here a little bit. If I have page callouts, I can go to the page callout, and if the callout had a bookmark to it, it will send me over to the bookmarked page for that callout. Another nice feature is that all of our AutoCAD SHX files and all of the TrueType fonts are now all readable as text and not as raster items or vector items. So we can do searches through our text to find particular pieces of text inside our document and go to those locations. Get out of here. Let's see what we have inside AutoCAD. So I'm just going to open up a blank drawing here. If we go to the Output tab, you'll notice now on the Output tab I have not only the DWF export options, but also the PDF export options. If I click on the PDF export options, I can go in and set the dots per inch, the quality. It defaults to 1200 in here. I can go all the way up to 4800 DPI. The raster image from 400 DPI all the way up to 4800 DPI for the raster quality. I can also turn the lines merge on or off with inside this, and then it gives me the other options to include the layer information, to include hyperlinks, to include bookmarks, and to capture any fonts that are used and embed those inside the PDF. So they've greatly enhanced these options. If we go to plot, oops, I didn't want to do that, sorry. I want to go plot on a single page. Notice that there are some predefined PC3 files that come with 2016. AutoCAD PDF general documentation, high quality print, smallest print, and web and mobile print for PDF. If you pick any of these options and then you go to the PDF options, it has set these for that particular setting. And they're just predefined for that type of output that you're looking for. I'm going to go take a look at point clouds right now, and some enhancements they've made to the AutoCAD, or to the point cloud within AutoCAD. I'm going to go to my model. One of the things, and let's take and just isolate this point cloud for right now. Go to isolate this object. So now I'm just looking at the point cloud. I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn this to parallel mode, just because it's easier to deal with this information. I can set this to look at it from the top. Now I can create selection sets. So if I've got a large point cloud and I want to deal with smaller pieces of this, I can go in, click on my point cloud, clip a rectangular region. So I want to clip through here. Once I've clipped that, you'll see that it's limited to that area. I can go in and save this clipping, and we'll just call this one stage. I can uncrop it all, go back to my top, say I want to look at this area too. I can also pick a polygonal region, so I'm going to come in here, pick a polygon around the area that I want. It isolates that area. I can save this. We'll save this one as park or parking. And now I have two different crop states that I can change between. Oh, didn't save them, sorry. Crop state to save parking. Let's take this off and go do that other one again. We'll do rectangular. Come here, pick this. Move inside. Come here, change this to stage. And just forget to hit enter properly. Now if I go to the cropping, I have the stage and the parking, so I can switch between those, or I can turn them all off. Other enhancements they've made, I'm going to take this, let's look at it back in perspective view. Pop over here. I can go in, click on the point cloud and go to section planes. So now I can look at this, say from the top. Turn my O-snaps off here, makes it easier for me to grab my grip. I can move this up and through the plane, cutting through the point cloud wherever I'd like to cut through at. I can also type in the relative distance that I want to move this plane to. And you'll see that it cuts through wherever I pick. You can switch to different planes. So here's my front view plane. I can take that, I can move this wherever I'd like to move it to. I can change this to the back plane, to the top plane, left plane, right plane, and I get all these planes. These planes that I put in here actually become objects. So I can go through and I can select one of the objects, select similar, and get rid of all these planes that I'm working with. So let's do something here. Let's go back to the orthographic mode. We'll set ourselves to looking at my front plane. I'm going to take this plane that you see here. I'm going to shrink it up so that it's easy for me to grab. And I'm going to change this from a plane to a slice. So now I get a slice that I can take and move through my object. I can also set the distance of this plane. By clicking on the plane itself, I can go in and I can set the depth of my object here. Let's set this to 50. And I can bring that through. Clicking on my plane, you can see that I'm dragging this through, getting different aspects of the object I'm trying to grab. So if you're in here and you've got a clip, I'm going to try to grab the little bit better information here. So let's turn this off for a second. We want to move this plane somewhere right in here. So put it right about there. Go back to my life section. Maybe move this just a little bit more. What I'd like to do is get those beams in there so I can get a little bit better clip. right in there. So I want to take a look at this from a flat view, roughly in this area. Turn that back on again. I want to be right in this region right here. Let's set that right about there. Take my live section off. Look at this from a front view. And what I want to do now is I'm going to click on my point cloud. Click on my point cloud, and I can generate, I can extract these lines from this point cloud. So now I'll click on this, select the point cloud, and I can adjust how many points it's going to look at to create this line work. I'm going to leave this relatively short, just for time purposes. It will not get as clean lines, but it will give me the lines that I'm looking for. So we're going to go and create that. It's going to go through, it's going to extract the lines out, and now you can see that based on the information that it had, it drew lines around my objects. So by having these lines here, I can do an elevation of this object. I can go through and trim and extend these lines to clean up what I'm looking at, but in that area through that cross section, create an elevation for myself. If I was to do this top down on a building, if I had interior and exterior scans of the building, you could do floor layout and trace where your walls are affected, and have it extract that information for you. I'm going to get rid of this drawing because it has point cloud in it. Actually, let's take a look at some other things here really quick with the point cloud before I leave. I'm going to turn this back on. I'm going to click on my sample line. I'm going to turn the live sampling off. We're going to zoom in on this area in here, and we're going to take a look at some of the new object snap features. If I go into the line command, I can come down here to my 3D object snaps. And right now I'm at, let's take a look at, let's turn off the corner of the point cloud off, and let's just look at the nearest edge of the point cloud. So if I go in here, I'm in the line command, and you can see it will detect where there's planes and the intersection of those planes, so I can start drawing along an edge. So if I want to draw along the edge of this plane, I can do that by snapping to those. Now I have a line in here that I can grab. Let's do it this way. Oops. Here's my line. So I have my line that I snapped to the edges of that point cloud. So I have other object snaps that I can use. Go back in the line command, come down to my 3D object snaps here, and I look at, say, the corner point of a cloud. Now when I go in to draw, you can see that it'll bring up not only the 2 planes, but it'll bring 3 planes. So I can snap to the corner of the 3 planes. In this case, you have that bottom plane, which would be the top seal of the door. You have the face plane, which is the face of the wall, and then you have the other thin long plane running from the bottom that you see there. That is the plane from the inside of the doorway. So I can click to a point there, and then I can come here and find another corner point of other planes that I might be looking at. Up here. And get to those spots. And once I find those, then I have my line that's going and drawing from those planes that I intersect on the point cloud. So they've given us a lot of enhancements, just short of feature extraction, but they do give us the ability to go in and draw those lines and put information in based on the point cloud that I have now. Let's close this out. So if I go in here to this drawing, I'm going to open this up. I have the ability now to X-reference, or not insert, but X-reference. If I go to X-reference, I can come down. I can pick my attached coordination model, and the coordination model can be a Navisworks file, or you can, if you're using BIM 360 Glue, you can import the model from BIM 360 Glue. I'm just going to grab this Navisworks NWD. Notice I can also do the NWC. So I pick the NWD model, just accept the default location, say OK. It'll automatically zoom to my coordination model once it comes in. So now I have my coordination model. If I click on it, it handles like an individual object. I can change the color fading, and I can change the opacity. So if I bring the opacity back up, it will be fully opaque. I can change the color fading and fade the color, make it darker or lighter based on my graphics that I have. And then again, the opacity will make it more transparent. So if I turn on the existing layers inside this drawing, you can see that it brought in this MEP information. I'm going to change this from wireframe to realistic shading, and now you can see that those are actual ductwork that is coming in. Inside, and these are AutoCAD entities with inside my Navisworks model. So I can test it for clash detection, or as I'm doing my design to ensure that I'm designing around the proper elements. If I click on this and I go to the opacity, I can change this and make it opaque and make my AutoCAD objects stand out and have my Navisworks model fade back, which will help me look and looking at that information. You have other objects that you have here, so we can switch from perspective mode to orthographic mode, and I can do orbiting. So if I do 3D orbit, I can spin this around. So there are some navigation effects that you can do with inside AutoCAD now that were a lot harder to do before. Very easy in Navisworks, a little more difficult in AutoCAD. If I do the 3D walk, then I can use my arrow keys to walk through this information. Now it's going relatively slow. And based on my camera view, I would be walking through the building or whatever I'd like to do. So I can tilt my head and spin my camera angle around, move myself up and down, and then I can use the walk mode to walk through. Using my arrow keys, I can walk through the building. If we go in here and I turn off any of these new features, so I'm going to go to the graphics performance issues, turn off the high quality geometry, turn off the smooth line effects, say OK, double check this just in case because I've had an issue with not turning off the smooth line, say OK to that. Now I'm in here and you can see when I'm zoomed out I get a sawtooth effect on my objects. So the further I get out, the more the sawtooth effect happens. If I zoom way in, I'm still jagged and I get a sawtooth effect around the outside. In 2015, they added the feature of smooth lines, so I can go ahead and turn the smooth lines on. It does smooth it up. I don't get the sawtooth effect, but I still get a chord type effect, where it's creating chords instead of rounded lines. In 2016, we can go in and turn on, if you have DirectX 11 compatible device, you can turn this on under hardware acceleration for the high quality geometry. Say OK, and now I get nice smooth lines no matter how far I am inside or outside. You'll see that there's nice rounded edges, and if I'm in the circles I get nice crisp rounded edges inside these circles. So no matter how far I zoom in or zoom out, I get the nice crisp lines. A couple other features that they have in here. We have the new security feature. So if I go into Upload and I insert this burstit.lisp, or I try to load this burstit.lisp, I will get an error saying, hey, you're using something that's not in your trusted paths. So if I have a location that I put my list routines in, and I know that anything in that location is trusted, I can drop them in there. If I try to load something from another location, or if you might get a virus, there are AutoCAD viruses out there now that want to run something, it will tell you, hey, that's not going to run because it's not in a trusted location. So we're going to go ahead and load on this one because I do want to load that command, and say close. So I've loaded it, and I have the ability to tell it to load from there all the time, or I can go into the options and I can add a path to my trusted locations. So if you come into trusted locations, I can come in here and add more locations to my trusted locations. If I run that command, let me first get into model space here. I can grab this object. So if I run this burstit command and I click on this object, it runs it, and notice that I got notified down here that a system variable has changed. And what that is this is a new command or a new feature that they've put in. If I click this view, this is default out of the box. It has these system variables already set. The file DIA, the mirror text, pick first, see command dialog box, highlighting, pick auto, pick first. All of that information is set the way that I want it. If anything goes in and changes those objects and they don't get set back to their original, I can come in here and say reset all, and it will reset all of these back to the original, my original setup. When you say OK, now everything is back, and I don't have to worry about my settings jumping around on me. Just a nice little feature that they've put in. I'm sure it will be helpful to many people out there. And that is it for the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. All the information you need is on the intro page of our website. If not, you can give us a call at 503-231-1576, and we'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Have a nice day, and thank you.